So with far infrared light, there are different light spectrums
Mhm.
that help the body. From your perspective, which ones should we be targeting for help?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that because people are talking so much about light energy right now, which I love. And that really speaks to the near infrared part and the red light portion. And they're powerful. We can talk about it. They have a significant impact on your mitochondria, and there's lots of other benefits. The foundation of the infrared spectrum is the far infrared. That's light energy, but that's felt as heat. And that is the one that we talked about that increases your core temperature. And that is the one that detoxifies the body. That is the one that activates a gene inside your body to reduce inflammation, which is pretty powerful.
If you're overwhelmed with chronic health symptoms and still don't have answers, you're not alone. I'm Dr. Jaban, and on Redefining Wellness with Dr. Jaban, we'll be exploring root causes like Lyme disease, mold, and parasites, and I'll guide you with simple and practical steps towards real healing. So today I'm here with Connie Zack, and we are actually both from Kansas City, which is a delight because instead of being on Zooms or traveling, we get to sit across from each other. And she is the co-founder of Sunlighten. And one of my favorite parts of this is I've grown up around Sunlight my entire life. I went to Cleveland Chiropractic School across the street from here. So I've known of Sunlighten, I've been in here, and I know that you are one of the leaders in the industry. And just us sitting here talking, you've been doing research in light for more than 25 years. So as we get into this, the first question I have to ask for you is, why light?
Because my brother was really ill and infrared changed his life. So the backstory is that he was so ill from being fatigued, and he went to lots of doctors. Nothing worked until his dentist said, Jason, I think that your fillings, your mercury fillings, are leaking into your body. And that's what's causing all this toxicity, and that's what's causing everything. If you can find a way to remove it, that could help. And he went on to say that I've read in Asia some studies about the fact that infrared heat and therapy, as well as light therapy, infrared is light and heat, and can detoxify the body and remove mercury. And so my brother invested in an infrared sauna, and it changed his life.
So
It changed mine.
20, 25 years ago, we're talking about one, you happened to find a dentist that knew enough about,
I know, isn't that crazy?
and that was far enough ahead to realize that mercury toxicity, which now is almost becoming a known fact, like amalgams are a problem. I run into this every day with clients. We can run a hair test and you see mercury in their body if they have amalgams. It's just the way it is. We all know mercury is absolutely horrible for you. But another way that metals are getting in, and I'm really curious your opinion on this, is there's a study that was released and it said that vaping can increase the amount of metal going into the body equal to more than 20 packs of cigarettes
Oh my goodness.
in one single day. So with saunas helping with mercury, how can this help with lead and these other toxins coming in?
Yeah, so absolutely. And there's a study done that removes lead from people through sweat, as well as, through blood and urine. But that's how infrared can help remove lead. It's been proven through a study called the BUS study, which stands for blood, urine, and sweat. It showed the power of infrared removing such toxic elements as mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, and many other toxicants.
So why is it that infrared we're talking about in that study why is it infrared that we're talking about versus, say, I don't know, regular saunas, just regular heat? Can I go outside and get the same effect?
No. In fact, traditional saunas, traditional heat was referenced in that study, and they compared exercise, traditional saunas, and infrared was way more powerful.
Why?
Because of the way it works. So I'll explain. Traditional is heating the air, and infrared heats the body directly. So it's this beautiful transfer of energy that powers the body and starts to increase circulation, increase flow, and it really ultimately supercharges your cells. It's a very deep penetration, deep absorption into your body. So the impact of that deep absorption and deep penetration is things like reduced inflammation and changing the body. The body starts to flow. So everything starts to move around, and then that movement starts to be excreted and impact all of your systems. There isn't one system in your body that's not impacted by the transfer of infrared energy.
So it's an energy transfer, it's a heat transfer. And as I think of this and as I work with clients each day, they ask these questions like, can I do a wet sauna? Can I do a infrared sauna? Can I just go get outside and sweat? And I'm glad you're explaining this in more detail, because it's not about just being hot and sweating. Sweat's nice. You do detox a little sweat, but you're saying that the red light actually gets in your body, the far infrared light gets in your body. And is it true that it doesn't necessarily raise your skin temperature?
Right.
So you don't actually sweat potentially as much as you would at the same temperature, like in the air a little bit?
Yes, because you're being hot with the absorption. So you're feeling it because the energy is getting into your body. It's raising your core temperature. So that raising core temperature, then the body wants to cool itself down. So that process doesn't make you feel hot on the outside air, but you start to feel hot in the body. Your heart rate starts to increase, and that entire process is what delivers the detoxification benefits and the reduced inflammation, because everything starts to flow and move inside your body. It's important to move your body outside externally to walk, but it's really important in order to remove toxic burdens such as lead, we need to get the body moving internally and get your systems functioning properly and increase circulation, increase flow, increase oxygenation, and infrared does all of that.
So I bet you run into a lot of people that just want to get hot, and they ask you how high your temperature goes inside your sauna, don't you?
Yes, all the time.
So does your sauna get as hot as these other ones that are just pure heat in the air?
So the temperature is irrelevant with infrared. It is not a measure of success. The measure of success is how you feel afterwards. The temperature is there as a gauge, but the success of the wavelength is received when it is absorbed, and it is absorbed as soon as you turn it on.
I'm glad you said that, and that's what I wanted to hear from you, because I try to explain this. I don't say it quite as elegantly when I'm talking to clients. It's not just heat that we're searching out for. Heat is a bonus if you like to sweat, or a bonus if you're cold in the winter and you want to feel warm, but it's the actual energy transfer that we're looking for. So with far infrared light, there are different light spectrums that help the body. From your perspective, which ones should we be targeting for help? If you're exhausted, foggy, or feeling off, and nothing you've tried has helped, it could be deeper. Mold, Lyme, and hormone issues are often hiding in the root, and you're not alone. Let me tell you about Sunlighten, an in-home infrared sauna system with options that fit up to 4 people. Sunlighten helps your body to heal at the source. It supports deep detoxification, calms chronic inflammation, restores energy, and brings back your system into balance. It's gentle, effective, and something you can do right at home. No appointments, no side effects, just a calming daily ritual backed by 25 years plus of patented, clinically trusted infrared innovation. Whether you're navigating a chronic condition or simply just want clearer skin, better sleep, and more vitality, there's a Sunlighten sauna that fits your space and your goals. If that sounds like the kind of support you've been looking for, visit sunlighten.com and use code Dr. Jaban to save up to $1,400 on your sauna, because real healing starts within.
It's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that, because people are talking so much about light energy right now, which I love. And that really speaks to the near infrared part and the red light portion. And they're powerful. We can talk about it. They have a significant impact on your mitochondria, and there's lots of other benefits. The foundation of the infrared spectrum is the far infrared. That's light energy, but that's felt as heat. And that is the one that we talked about that increases your core temperature, and that is the one that detoxifies the body. That is the one that activates a gene inside your body to reduce inflammation, which is pretty powerful. So that's the foundation, and I would build on top of that. But if you could only have one, it would be far infrared only.
And you can't see far infrared, right?
You cannot see any of well, it's not true. You can see red light, but you can't see far infrared, mid infrared, or near infrared. And far infrared and mid infrared are felt by heat, and near infrared is invisible and is light energy, and red light is visible, is red, and is light energy.
I think it's really important to understand this because there are just so many saunas out there. You know, I'm Googling around, going, I want one in my house. And this is a couple of years ago. I'm going, how do you tell apart one versus the other, right? You got China making all of these saunas out there. And I know for me as a detox doc, right? Like I work a lot with people with toxins. I'm going, well, what's the material this thing's made out of? Is it clean energy inside there? Because we don't want negative energy inside where you're trying to get well. Is this wood made with mold? Like, there's all kinds of questions that came to my mind. So how would you say in this world where, I mean, you've got all these websites pushing kind of junk stuff, why buy Sunlighten?
There's so many reasons why you would buy Sunlighten. So we'll just start with the question as far as materials. And keep in mind, our intentions and our purpose of why we started this company is to help people feel better and be healthier and live a fuller life and be able to do more of what they want to do safely and naturally in the comfort of their own home. And that mission, that purpose for people is to make sure that all the materials are safe, non-toxic, tested. So that's huge. You don't see tested anyplace else. In fact, let me take you back for a second to, so we're out of the basement. The next location that we moved to was Lackman Drive next to Factory Direct Appliance, if you're familiar with Kansas City. And at that location, there's a time where we had an environmental company, this is so many years ago, to come in and test the energy in our sauna for toxins or for anything, any harmful substances. And their conclusion was that the sauna was the safest place to be, that there were more toxins in the air and outside than inside the sauna. So one reason to buy a Sunlighten is because of the confidence and the security and the peace of mind in the materials, and the fact that we have researched so much and to make sure that everything is safe and natural. And that's one reason. Another one, probably, I don't know if it's the most important, but to me, if I was looking at it, would be, is that we patented the amount of absorption of infrared into the body. So say it a different way, you cannot receive more infrared into your body anyplace else than Sunlighten. And that patent, the only reason I mention that is it gives me peace of mind that it's true. Because we have the patent on it, nobody else can have it, so you can't get more anyplace else. Another reason is, and this is a reason also where I would recommend infrared over traditional, and that's because when you get a Sunlighten like Impulse that has far infrared, mid infrared, near infrared, and red light all independently, separately, as well as you can blend them together, there's nothing else like that. And what's great is that versus traditional. With traditional, you get heat, and all heat is good and all sweat is good. But when you can actually get the energy into your cells and your mitochondria and your water molecules, you are supercharging your cells in 4 different ways versus one way, which is heating your body by the air being hot with traditional. But far infrared is absorbed at a totally different place than mid infrared, at a totally different place than near infrared, and different place than red light. So you get 4 different mechanisms, 4 different levels of light therapy into your cells.
And every one of these types of red light has a different effect from what I've read and understood, right? So even within the spectrum of visible red light, where there are multiple different frequencies, whether you look at, is it 850 and 660, which are probably the most common ones that I run into, because this is how committed I am to red light, which is why I love having this conversation. I have a red light panel in my shower.
I know, I heard that. That's so awesome.
So I cut out the wall in a tiled shower, put a glass panel in, so the electricity is obviously on the outside, so I'm not getting electrocuted for anybody thinking I'm going to go do that. And it took some effort. And then I have my red light panel in there because for me, before I was doing red light, I was a college athlete. I competed in track and field and football and all sorts of sports in high school. I dislocated my knee 4 times in wrestling. And it was the patella, which is your kneecap. And that, for some people, it can break off and cause other issues. But for me, mine was a little flatter on the back, but it could keep happening over and over. Well, as I continued to age, that irritations led to more pain. And I was in my mid-30s, and I was getting to the point where I couldn't squat in the gym anymore. I like to work out.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, just squatting down to pick up my kid or shoot a pencil, doing it correctly by bending your knees is getting painful. Somebody said, try red light. So I got a red light panel, and this was the visible red light panel. And once I started using that under my desk at work, I could squat again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the effect of any of the light types, so far, mid, near, or visible, and then just its effect on inflammation. Like, why does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I love about all 4 of them together, and I will answer your question, what I love about all 4 of them together is I originally came from pharmaceuticals, big Procter & Gamble company, and there was so much talk about, broad spectrum, non-steroidal, anti-inflammatory drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And having this energy into your body at all these different parts is like taking like the most powerful drug, but it's not a drug, and it's natural. So I love the question on infrared on inflammation, because each part reduces inflammation separately. So far infrared is absorbed the deepest. Well, it's absorbed, the deepest. And it helps to activate that HL1 gene that we talked about that controls inflammation. So then mid-infrared helps to reduce inflammation at the joints and the tissue. So it's excellent for muscle recovery in athletes like yourself. Near-infrared, out of the 2 light therapies, it penetrates the deepest. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that red light goes the deepest because it's visible. And I think it's just natural, tendencies to, when you see something, you just feel like it's more powerful than something you can't see. It makes perfect sense to me. But it's important for people to know that near infrared, we chose to put near infrared in our saunas a long time ago, 15 years ago, because of the science and the research of how deeply it penetrates into the skin. And that's where you're getting that anti-inflammatory relief, that pain relief that you had before. That's why you're able to squat more. I used to use, when I was training, so Aaron, my business partner and husband, completed an Ironman, I think that was 2016, and I volunteered to be his running trainer. So I ended up running a marathon. I wasn't planning on doing that, but I was training every day, well, not every day, but a couple times a week on doing his runs with him as part of the Ironman. And then he's like, I have to do a half marathon. I'm like, okay, I'll do it with you. And that'll be our 13-mile run. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm just going to finish it, the whole thing. But my point of this story is I could not, and I'll definitively say this, I could not have completed that marathon if it wasn't for my near infrared light in my Sunlighten sauna. Because every time I would do a long run, it kind of started after 10 miles, my knees and my feet felt like glass. Like I felt like breaking glass, and I couldn't even walk. And my sauna happens to be downstairs in my basement. And it was so difficult to get downstairs to get in my sauna, but I did. And instantly you can feel that energy being absorbed into your nerves and starting to reduce the inflammation and starting to take away the pain. You can feel that. And I would have my foot up against the near infrared panel, and I would have my knee against another near infrared panel. And I was able, I would like literally run up the stairs and I was done. It was amazing. So it was a great transformation. So that's a personal testament to the power of near infrared. Red light has that same type of impact. It's just not penetrates as deep. So it does the exact same things, and it works with your mitochondria. It helps with your nervous system. It helps reduce inflammation, especially like at the surface more than at the deep level. So if you get all four of those, and you just kind of picture, right, that whole body inflammation reduction, an entire body is pain, pain-free potentially, or for sure pain reduced if you use all four infrared wavelengths.
So a huge portion of who I get to work with is women dealing with chronic illness. And they're always asking, what technology do I use? So we were doing some research as we were coming into this podcast, just trying to understand what would be some good questions to get more clarity on, because I've been recommending saunas for a decade, probably somewhere in there. And I ran across the study that was talking about women getting into a sauna, and it was decreasing their cramps, but not just while they're in the sauna, but they would feel that change for days afterward. And you're saying that's likely near infrared is doing a lot of that?
It's all of the wavelengths. Far infrared is the one that's going to increase your circulation, and it's going to increase your blood flow. So for menstrual cramps, far infrared is foundational because you're going to get your blood flowing. You're going to get more oxygen to your tissues. We're activating that gene that's so important to reduce the pain of menstrual cramps. But what's great about that study is that it's not just at the time of using it, right? And I hear this over and over and over again, myself included with my feet and my knees, is it wasn't just I was like pain-free while I was in the sauna. I mean, it lasted until my next run. So, and actually it lasted through my short runs. I was always fine. Like whenever you do the shorter, it was the longer ones where my body was just kicking and screaming. But then I had near infrared that came, and red light. I just happened to use, we had the near infrared panels at the time inside the sauna, and I loved them. So it's the combination of the far infrared is increasing the blood flow and increasing the circulation, and it's helping to impact the other systems. That's going to keep the inflammation away, the pain away. And then the near infrared, as well as the mid for the joints and tissues, and then the near infrared is going to help on a systemic level.
So with saunas, it's about getting in there, doing it often enough to have this increase of energy, because you're basically just charging yourself up like a battery every time you get in there so that your joints and everything can get better. Is there a drawback? So I always have to ask that question. We're talking about these amazing positives. Like, so what's the drawback? What am I losing? What's the risk?
Yeah, there really, is no drawback. You should pay attention to hydration. You should pay attention to your electrolytes. You should pay attention to the length of use, because it is passive cardiovascular conditioning. So you're working out, your body is working out, your cells are working out. This is like the biggest supercharger for the cells around is infrared. And because you're supercharging your cells and you're increasing your energy, your body is working. So you need to pay attention to how long you're in there, no different than if you were going to the gym, right? It's the same, it's an exercise mimetic. So it mimics the impact and effects of exercise, but you're sitting there and you get, especially for women, the great thing for women, I'm waiting for everybody, but I know my female community, they love to multitask. They love to habit stack when they're inside the sauna. So they get the chance of being able to do multiple things. And there's just not a lot of wellness modalities, wellness tools, wellness resources available where you can receive the benefit of the therapy while also doing something else that's going to benefit your body.
I do love the multitask. That's why I have the
That's a rugged shower.
yeah, so I have the red light in my shower.
Yeah. I mean, women love to be efficient as well. I mean, it's really important. I mean, they're juggling so many different things, with families and and parents and work and so if they can get more done while they're in there, hopefully it's wellness focused and it's not work focused. But in case they had to do something, they could, and they could get, a project done as well as receive the infrared energy.
I definitely tell clients that I'm working with, when you get in there, you're finally able to shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids probably don't want to go in the infrared sauna as much as they want to do other things with you. So you might get some alone time. I'm like, spend some time working the nervous system. Do your breath work, your meditation, your limbic somatic work. I love it when clients get in there and do that because it's like your little box of solitude almost. It can be such a healing time. I know a lot of the women I work with, I actually joke with them. They're like, I don't have alone time. I can't do your nervous system work. I'm like, go to the bathroom and lock the door. They're like, well, what are my kids going to do? I mean, of course, if they're like 2 and you're at home alone, you can't do this. But like, leave with your husband, do something. And they're like, I don't have time. I'm like, fine. Can you go to a window and stare at a tree for 30 seconds? And I mean, the impact that can have on somebody is incredible. So if they have the opportunity to get in the sauna and spend 30 minutes, because, I guess that's another question that I want to ask you. But if they spend 30 minutes, I mean, that's going to be what I usually recommend for nervous system work. So combining those two can be life-changing for people.
Mm-hmm.
Many people dealing with chronic mold or Lyme disease, they think it's all the chemical. And I've always recommended sauna and coffee enema and castor oil pack, which is helping to get rid of chemicals. But what I've come to realize too is just as much of that healing journey actually is nervous system oriented. It's recharging the battery, which is one reason why I love light, because it's an artificial recharge. And here's something fun that I still to this day, I'm just like, is that real? I've had clients do 1 minute or even 30 seconds of light therapy and have a detox reaction where their body has this like reaction. And what that tells me is, 1, light works because they didn't think that was going to happen. So we know there's an effect. And 2, after getting to know these people, usually they're the extremely sensitive individuals. And that just tells me, okay, well, we just dosed too high. Let's bring it down. And when you start getting light on the back of the neck, and maybe you have a input on this, but light on the back of the neck or on that brainstem seems to actually calm the nervous system. Have you seen anything about this? I mean, have you ever heard of that?
I have never heard that, but thinking through, like when I'm in there, my positioning lots of times, I am positioned with my back against, the infrared heaters. And I find that not even just what I find, we know for sure with science that infrared takes your nervous system from the fight or flight stage to the parasympathetic stage. And that's what so many people are looking for is, I have anxiety, I have this, I have that, this is all this stuff's going on. Literally, you can feel it immediately. That's why I always recommend people go in, turn it on, and stay there. Don't worry about letting the heat rise because it's the light energy coming from all 4 spectrums. Or if it's just far infrared, that's completely fine too. But turn it on and get in because that wavelength is the longest and will be most readily absorbed when you turn it on. And you're not going to have that intense heat, but that's okay. Because if you think about light like a light bulb, right? You turn it on, it's on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's working. It's the same thing.
I've never said that to a client in my life. Just get in immediately. It's always even for me, I had an older sauna.
Yes.
And I got rid of it out of my clinic because it would take an hour to heat up. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting to me. So you can seriously just turn it on, get in, you're getting the light energy. Mm-hmm. So you're getting the benefit. Mm-hmm. But to me, I'm also thinking sometimes I can't sweat, right? Like I can't sweat right before I go back to a client. I can't sweat right before I'm about to be in the room, be all pitted out and feeling nasty, but I could sit in there for 20 minutes before it gets super hot.
Yep.
And I could still get benefits. So,
oh yeah, you probably it's probably more of an efficient use of time because you're getting a higher quantity absorbed right away, and you're not your body, and since you're a nervous system expert, your body, your brain isn't competing with the thoughts of it's hot, like anything else that's going on, because you're in there, and you'll find that you can start your breath work faster. You'll find you get into, the relaxed state faster. And so it is an excellent use of time. And I also find that my brain becomes incredibly more creative and burden-free when I do it that way. Like I literally, my brain is like almost like I pressed a empty the trash button in my brain where I have all this mind chatter and all of a sudden it's gone. So it's people are so used to the concept of heating up because that's what traditional saunas do. And so they need to know how hot is it going to be, how long is it going to take, because that's the way a traditional sauna works. But infrared is completely different, and we need to adapt and to the way it works and turn it on, and just kind of picture mentally when you turn it on, picture a light bulb. You just turned on a light bulb. You just turned on this powerful light bulb that's going to supercharge your cells the minute you get in there.
You just completely changed my workout routine. I've got this routine that has annoyed the heck out of girlfriends in my life, workout buddies in my life, because I'll get done with a long day of work, like, 8, 9, 10 hours of seeing clients, and my brain is just on. So I need a little bit of downtime just to like rewire and like come go to the gym. So I get my pre-workout out, which I got a really nice clean pre-workout, just saying that out loud. And I go during my pre-workout, and it could be 30 or 40 minutes. I don't usually during that period of time want to just wait for a sauna to start because I just got out of work. I'm now going to be sitting in my sauna, sipping my baba. Was what my girlfriend tells me, sipping my baba. Like, it's, that's what she tells me I'm doing. And I'm like, I got a 2-year-old and I love him. So, I'll be doing that in my sauna before I work out, because now I'm supercharging my body, calming my nervous system, especially after a tough day. Mm-hmm. Like after a long day, I'd love to get that research from you, by the way. I'd love to put it in the show notes of, if you can find it, the fight or flight response to rep light and other lights, because that's huge for my community. But then as we're continuing in here, what is a good protocol? Like what would you recommend people do that are average individuals for sauna?
Mm-hmm. I would recommend that they pick their time of day. Whatever, first of all, let me start with saying that this is a lifestyle part of you, should be part of your lifestyle, right? So you want to do it in ways that you're going to be able to keep doing it. Consistency is way more important than intensity. So consistent use outweighs once a month at an intense level. It's just not the way it works. So consistent use is important. How are you going to be able to consistently use your infrared sauna? That's the first question you have to ask yourself. My personal preference is the morning, but that's me. And so a great routine is, you do your morning routine, everybody has different morning routines. And I always like to get in before I get distracted or before something or my kids change everything. And my new thing is I allow myself to say a shorter amount of time, because before, when I used to think 30, 40 minutes, then there were obstacles because I had to have that chunk of time available. And as a busy mom of 2, and as a company owner and as a wife and all the other things that I choose to take on in my life, it's hard to commit to 30 to 40 minutes. And if I do it for 10 to 15, I find that somehow I'm able to shuffle things around and find a little bit of extra time. And so that would be the way I would approach it. I would also make sure that you're adequately hydrated. Hydration is so important. And you're you are going to be moving stuff around your body. Even if you're not sweating, you're detoxifying the body through your other organs, right? There's more than one way to detoxify. And so it's important as you're removing things, through sweat or through urine or through other ways, that you replenish with the good stuff. So making sure you're replenishing your electrolytes, you pay attention to, how you feel and your energy levels. You should have, if you're doing it right, you should have more energy. You should always leave more relaxed and more calm, more energy, clearer head.
So it seems like our community of health and wellness population is a little split. There's the recognize the nervous system, will leave a sauna feeling better. Then there's the other half. That's like, I need to crush myself with an hour in there at max heat. Is there a benefit to that for those who do have the time?
Is there a benefit to staying in there for an hour? Was that the question?
Basically for really pushing your body, like pushing your body to the point where you feel like you had a workout because you've been in there so long, whether that's heat shock proteins or, even the amount of calories I think goes up the longer you're in there. So there's maybe a benefit, but what benefits would be for that population? Because I'm just wanting to compare back and forth. You said so much about almost more of the daily habit style more than what almost is always talked about, which is getting there for an hour at 160 and just go. Is there a benefit to that?
There's way more benefits to get in for 15 minutes every other day, 3 to 4 times a week, than there is for somebody to sit in there for an hour once a week.
Okay.
All of the studies were done with shorter periods of time. And that's one of the advantages of infrared. And one of the reasons a lot of people, it is part of their lifestyle, is because it's easy. And it's not an enduring, part of your day. It's not something you have to think of, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? Like, do I have to lift weights? Do I have to all the different things that we do to ourselves that can exhaust us or can make us in pain, or the crushing. I love that word. This is not one of those. This is not one of those elements. This is something that you're going to go in. You're going to get relaxed. You're going to get more energy. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to do more when you leave. And hopefully you take some of the time while you're in there to do other wellness habits so that you multitask and you're more efficient. So I don't see any, unless it's personal preference, I don't see any great reasons to stay in there for hours. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Back to your question about heat shock proteins, those are activated right away. So, you're making your body stronger, through the heat shock proteins, while you're in there, and you don't need to stay, long, especially if you're doing other things. Like a lot of times people exercise and they'll maybe outdoors and then they go inside their sauna, or I'm a huge, huge fan of hot water with lemon. And so hot water is helping to keep those heat shock proteins, activated. And that would be a better use. I mean, I could map out a better use of an hour, for somebody in a wellness routine, way better than sitting in an hour in a Sunlighten sauna, for sure.
So myth busted, you don't have to win. I can stay in the sauna the longest in your friend group and wellness to get the benefits from it. Because, I'm always seeing people out there talking about that, just like cold plunging.
Yeah.
Is it better to cold plunge for a minute daily or 15 minutes once? Which it's always looking at that. And when I've worked with clients, every client that comes into me that's been chronically ill for a long period of time, they want results and they're motivated. And that's what our community is motivated. So they're like, I'll do whatever it takes. And then if some is good, more is better, right?
Yeah, well, more is better, more days a week, but not necessarily more time. That's a personal preference thing. If you just enjoy all that time and you get other things done, or say you don't do anything else, say you just completely relax and zone out and use that as a meditative time, that's a benefit too.
Mm.
So you can enjoy, if you want to be in there longer, do it if that meets your lifestyle, and enjoy it. But you don't have to, I guess is my point.
I'm going to get in my sauna while having my hydrogen machine on with my PEMF mat and biohack myself right before I go and work out. Now that I know I don't have to have it at 160 for an hour to be beneficial, because that was one of my drawbacks, is like I love spending time with my family and I love my job. So I work too much.
Yeah.
Because I get fueled from it. I love doing what I do and helping people. So this is amazing. Well, I think we've covered a lot of topics. I've learned quite a bit, so I really appreciate your time. And what we're going to do is we're going to post some of these studies on the show notes so people can see that. And we're going to put in there a little bit of a little blurb on what it looks like to do this now, because I think it needs to be talked about, because I'd never heard some of this information myself. So thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited that you're here in Kansas City, and I look forward to, more times together and more wellness, breakthrough discussions.
Thank you for tuning in to Redefining Wellness with Dr. Jaban. If this episode spoke to you, please follow and share this podcast with someone who is ready to take control of their chronic health symptoms. Also, please consider leaving a review. It helps more people find the show. See you here again.